Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Six Path Weeb, your guide through the multiverse of anime theories and fanfiction storytelling. Today, we're diving into part 4 of our ongoing series, What If Naruko Was Born with the Rinne-Sharingan? A powerful twist that could alter the course of the shinobi world entirely. Disclaimer, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's jump in. Naruko awoke well past midday the next day, her body still feeling the effects of exhaustion after not having rested properly for an entire week while traveling across the water. Receiving a large amount of information the day before had also taken a toll on her mind, which explained why she had slept far beyond her usual waking hours. Letting out a small groan, Naruko sat up from her makeshift bed. She wasn't certain if the place she found herself in had any means for her to freshen up, so while still feeling a bit groggy, she began to quietly explore her surroundings. About an hour later, she felt significantly better. Not only had she found a clean bathroom and a proper bedroom, but she had also stumbled upon a room filled with scrolls. To her surprise, many of these scrolls contained food that had been preserved by special seals, ensuring everything remained fresh until opened. The discovery moved the 8-year-old girl to quiet tears of joy, tears she had tried hard to suppress over the years. She could finally enjoy the simple comforts of sleeping in a bed, taking a shower, and eating as much nourishing food as she wanted. All of this would help her grow stronger and healthier, something she rarely experienced despite all the foraging and hunting she had done before. She struggled a bit with the shower at first, unsure how to control the water temperature. Though she had read plenty of books, topics like bathrooms or kitchens hadn't caught her interest, mostly because she didn't think she would ever use them. She first turned on the hot water, quickly yelping when the steaming water hit her skin. She shut it off just as fast. The cold water was more tolerable, something she was used to, but soon she figured out that balancing both taps gave her warm, comfortable water. For the first time in years, she was thoroughly clean, using the soap she had found nearby. Eager to understand more, she searched for books about everyday living and came across a few children's books, which she found surprising but helpful. Maybe these were preserved for teaching, she thought while flipping through the pages. That same day, she learned how to brush and floss her teeth, something entirely new for her. Feeling proud of her accomplishments, Naruko then explored the rest of the place and found a large closet filled with clothes of all sizes, from children to adults. Each item bore the Uzumaki clan symbol, something she cherished dearly, knowing it represented her heritage. Though she didn't dwell much on formal titles or honor, she wore the Uzumaki symbol with quiet pride, believing herself to be one of the last of her clan. After much searching, she picked out a white shirt with the Uzumaki swirl on the back, some comfortable shinobi-style trousers, and sandals to match. Wow, the Uzumaki must have been an amazing clan to have this many clothes, books, and scrolls, she thought with awe as she went to find something to eat. Opening one of the food scrolls and channeling her chakra into it, a variety of dishes appeared on the table. The amount of food astonished her, it was more than she had ever seen at one time. She couldn't help but drool a little before eagerly digging in, not stopping to check what each item was due to her hunger. She'd find out the details later, she reasoned, once she found books that described all this food. After about 30 minutes, she finished everything on the table, food that would normally feed an entire family for a day. Naruko understood why her appetite was so large. As a Jinchuriki, her body required more energy to grow and function properly. Her past diet had mostly consisted of meat, so the variety and flavors overwhelmed her, bringing joyful tears to her eyes. Feeling satisfied, she let out a soft burp. Time to train, came the reminder from the Jubi, the powerful entity sealed within her. Eagerly, Naruko stood up and made her way to the room she now called the training room, which truly lived up to the name. Closing the door behind her, reinforced with numerous intricate seals, she stood in the center of the wide space as the Jubi began giving instructions. First, remove the genjutsu from your eyes, the Jubi instructed. Naruko followed the guidance, channeling her chakra to dispel the illusion that had been hiding her true vision. Her eyes shifted to reveal her Rinne-Sharingan, glowing a gentle purple with 2 tomoe in each eye. Good. Now, your real training begins. From that point, Naruko focused completely on learning about her unique eye technique, her dojutsu, and how to use it with greater precision and understanding. Konohagakure. The morning after the incident at the Uchiha compound, Hiruzen Sarutobi rose early to begin addressing paperwork that had accumulated. He followed the morning routine he had established over the years since his wife had passed. Once ready, he strolled calmly toward his office, greeting early risers along the way, mostly shopkeepers preparing for the day ahead. The shinobi shops would open later, as many ninja rested whenever not assigned to missions. It wasn't long before Hiruzen reached his office and began tackling the mountain of paperwork on his desk. Despite his efforts, the volume never seemed to decrease, which was a source of great frustration for the seasoned Hokage. 2 hours into the work, Hiruzen summoned one of his Anbu. A masked operative wearing an eagle-themed mask appeared before him, kneeling respectfully. Washi, Hiruzen addressed, please inform all clan heads, along with Uchiha Mikoto and Uchiha Itachi, that there will be a council meeting at midday. Notify the civilian council as well. Hi, Hokage-sama, the Anbu replied before vanishing in a graceful swirl of feathers. I need to remind him to use that technique outside the office, Hiruzen muttered to himself with a sigh, then returned to his work. Midday arrived more quickly than expected, and Hiruzen finally made his way to the council chamber. The guard stationed at the entrance opened the doors for him as he stepped inside. To his satisfaction, everyone he summoned had already taken their seats. What surprised many, however, was that the Uchiha clan's seat was now occupied by Uchiha Mikoto instead of her husband. Before anyone could question it, Hiruzen stood to speak. Thank you all for attending. There is much to discuss today, he began, then turned to the civilian council, made up of a small group of men and women. I invited you here today for one purpose, to announce that the civilian council is now officially disbanded. From this day forward, it will no longer exist. His declaration was met with immediate protests. One man stood up abruptly. Hokage-sama, you can't just. Another joined in, demanding to know where two familiar council advisors were. At that moment, Hiruzen released a subtle but unmistakable wave of authority, an aura that silenced the room instantly. Koharu and Homura have been removed for betraying the village, he said in a steady, firm tone. And as the Hokage, my decisions are final. Please leave the room. Though shocked, the civilian members complied quietly. Many of the shinobi present exchanged glances, some hiding small smiles. It was rare to see the third Hokage take such a decisive stance, and it left a noticeable impact on everyone in the room. Kanahagakur, council room. As instructed, the civilian council quietly disbanded, their concerns addressed without incident. Once they had left, the Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, turned to the remaining clan heads. Now that we've handled that, Hiruzen began, let's discuss the true reason I summoned you all here. He then shared the events of the previous night, a planned uprising by a faction of the Uchiha clan, which had been prevented with the help of key individuals. He also spoke of a mysterious masked figure, someone who claimed to be Madara, and cautioned everyone about the unknown threat this individual posed. The room fell into stunned silence. The Hyuga clan head was the first to speak. What about the rest of the Uchiha? Can we be certain there won't be any further incidents? He asked. Before Hiruzen could respond, Mikoto Uchiha, calm but composed, lightly scoffed. Hiruzen continued, those involved had aligned with Fugaku from the beginning. The remaining Uchiha chose not to support the plan. They value the peace of the village. I trust both Mikoto and Itachi Uchiha to continue guiding their clan responsibly. Mikoto nodded subtly, her expression neutral. Many present were aware of Itachi's exceptional abilities and leadership, and Hiruzen had already revealed that it was Itachi who had first informed him of the planned rebellion. As for Danzo, Hiruzen continued, I have issued an alert regarding his whereabouts and asked the Uchiha, Hyuga, and Inuzuka clans to assist in watching for both him and the masked stranger. Anbu will continue searching the village as a precaution. The Hokage also explained how Itachi had confronted the masked man, whose abilities confirmed he was an imposter rather than the legendary figure he claimed to be. With the explanation complete, he turned back to Mikoto. Mikoto, are you now assuming leadership of the Uchiha clan? The dark-haired woman gave a soft smile and nodded. For now, Hokage-sama. Without our counsel, I believe it's best I guide the clan until Itachi is ready. Itachi, ever calm, stood silently behind his mother. Despite his composed exterior, Mikoto knew he was still emotionally affected by the past events. Very well, Hiruzen said with a nod. The meeting ended, and the leaders departed to share the news with their respective clans. Hiruzen took a slow walk back to his office, the weight of recent days making him long for rest more than paperwork. He knew it wouldn't be long before the entire village became aware of what had happened. Unknown location. In a shadowed cavern, 5 figures stood in a circle. Among them was the masked figure falsely claiming to be Madara, with the plant-like Zetsu by his side. The remaining 3, appearing through holographic projection, began to speak. What happened in Konoha? "I thought you were going to convince Itachi to join us and weaken their structure," asked one with long, straight hair. "Itachi is stronger than expected, especially with his advanced Sharingan." During the confrontation, Danzo retreated, leaving me to face him alone. The Hokage and other shinobi intervened quickly, the masked man explained calmly. Another, wearing similar attire, added, "We can't wait forever for someone to awaken the Rinnegan. We need another strategy." "We'll shift focus," the masked figure replied. "Zetsu is gathering intelligence from all the nations. While we lack certain key resources, we will not abandon our objectives." The conversation ended, and the group dispersed, each pursuing their own task. Kanahagakure, 6 months later. 6 months had passed since the confrontation within the Uchiha compound. As Hiruzen expected, news spread quickly, first throughout the village, then beyond its borders. Questions followed. Could the Uchiha be trusted? Would there be more conflict? But time healed uncertainty. With Mikoto and Itachi working tirelessly, the village began to see the Uchiha in a new light. Their dedication to peace and their honorable conduct earned growing respect from the citizens. Mikoto's leadership made a remarkable impression. Her kindness and wisdom stood in contrast to the sternness associated with her late husband. She helped restore the Uchiha to their rightful home and reinstated their duties as village patrol, a role that soon expanded. Her proposal to form joint patrol teams with the Hyuga and Inuzuka clans was met with enthusiasm. This cooperation increased feelings of safety and unity within the village, something Hiruzen deeply appreciated. Yet not everything was predictable. Hiruzen found himself surprised when one of his promising Chunin, Yuhi Kurenai, requested a long leave of absence. Kurenai, known for her skill in genjutsu and maturity, had voluntarily delayed her Jonin promotion, stating she needed more time to prepare. Now, she stood before the Hokage, composed but sincere. "Are you sure about this, Kurenai? 4 months is a significant period," Hiruzen asked. "Yes, Hokage-sama," she replied, bowing respectfully. "I believe this time away will help me grow stronger and allow me to return ready to serve the village in a greater capacity." "Very well," he said with a nod, signing the authorization. "Just be careful. We'll look forward to your return." "Thank you," she said, bowing again before quietly leaving in a swirl of leaves. Kurenai's apartment. Kurenai moved quickly, packing her things into a scroll as many experienced shinobi did. She had arranged a quiet farewell and asked 2 of her closest friends to meet her, Mitarashi Anko and Uzuki Yugao. As they entered, she called out from her room, "Anko, Yugao, I'm in here." They found her mid-packing. Anko looked at her curiously. "Kurenai, what's going on? You've been distant lately." Yugao added gently, "You seem troubled. Can we help?" Kurenai hesitated, then spoke softly. "I want to tell you everything, but it's complicated. If I shared all the details, I'd risk losing the trust of someone important, someone I've only just begun to understand." Anko, ever quick to tease, raised an eyebrow. "So? A mysterious connection, huh? Are you telling us this is about someone special?" Kurenai's cheeks flushed. "No, nothing like that. This isn't about romance. This is about something else entirely, something I believe will benefit the village in time. But I need you both to trust me." She paused before continuing. "I'd like you both to meet me in the Forest of Death 4 months from now. I know this sounds strange, but there's something I want to share with you then, something important." Anko and Yugao exchanged glances. While concerned, they knew their friend well enough to believe in her judgment. "All right, Kurenai," Yugao said softly. "We trust you." Kurenai offered them a small, hopeful smile. Inside, she still wasn't sure how everything would unfold. She hoped to reach the island where Naruko had gone, if the journey even proved possible. But she was determined to try. And if all went well, then maybe, just maybe, they could bring something new back to the village, something worth the risk. Anko and Yugao didn't have much to say at first, but they eventually nodded in agreement with their friend. They trusted her judgment and knew that, even if this journey seemed unusual, it must be important. They chatted a bit longer until Yugao mentioned that she had to leave for Onbu duties, and Anko returned to her own responsibilities. With everything packed, Kurenai let out a soft sigh. This wasn't something she would normally do, but she and her 2 closest friends had a bond that was like family. They often called each other sisters, and that trust was what gave Kurenai the confidence to take this step. She locked her apartment and placed 3 scrolls into her pouch before heading toward the village gates. After signing out and showing her travel papers, approved by the Hokage, she set off for Uzushio no Sato, hoping her decision was the right one. A week later. Kurenai reached a small coastal town known for its boats and ocean access. At the docks, she asked around to see if anyone could take her to Uzushio. Most declined, hesitant because of the strong whirlpools surrounding the island. Just when she was about to give up, a kind old man approached her. He had gray hair and a matching beard and was around her height. "My lady," he began respectfully, "I heard you're looking for a way to Uzushio. Most won't go near that island, but I can take you part of the way. The whirlpools, as you may know, prevent getting too close." Kurenai nodded, grateful someone was willing to help, even if he couldn't take her all the way. She agreed to his price, paying him half up front and promising the rest upon arrival at the closest safe point. The man accepted, noting that it was a smart decision on her part. Kurenai had removed anything that would identify her as a shinobi, including her flak jacket and headband, so she appeared as a regular traveler. An hour later, they set off. As the boat moved across the calm part of the ocean, Kurenai hoped Naruko was still there. She knew this was unlike her, but she felt it was the right thing to do, for Naruko, for herself, and for the promise she had once made to Naruko's mother. Uzushio. While the world carried on, Uzumaki Naruko had been training with dedication for 6 months. Every day had a rhythm. She'd wake, eat, get ready, and then head straight to her training space where she practiced endlessly. Her teacher, an ancient and wise presence, had started her on a unique path of study that involved advanced chakra techniques. The first ability she learned was Shinra Tensei, a force-based technique that required precise chakra control. It took a week before she could use it properly, after which she spent another week mastering it. Early in her practice, she accidentally overpowered the technique and damaged parts of the training room. But the seals in place repaired everything automatically, which fascinated Naruko. She progressed quickly, with guidance and the natural potential in her eyes. Her mentor told her she was learning even faster than the legends before her. After Shinra Tensei, she learned Banshu Tenin, an ability that allowed her to draw objects toward her using chakra. She spent 2 weeks mastering it. The next challenge was Chibaku Tensei, a powerful and intricate technique. Her teacher warned her to be careful, as it could be dangerous if used incorrectly. It took a full month of focused training to safely master it, and she learned how to carefully control its gravity-based effects. Though powerful, Naruko wasn't interested in misusing her strength. Her goal was not control or dominance, but to protect and understand. She trained for her own growth and to be there for those who might one day rely on her. As her skills grew, so did her chakra control and strength. Her hair, once shorter, now reached just below her shoulder blades. Though her abilities continued to improve, there were still limits, like the time delay between using certain techniques. Her mentor explained that with growth and patience, she could lessen these limitations. She eventually moved on to learn the Preta Path, an energy absorption technique. Through clever use of special seals that released chakra-based energy, Naruko learned how to absorb incoming energy with just one hand, mastering it in 2 weeks. Some abilities required another person to practice with, so she saved those for later. For now, she focused on paths she could train alone. One of these was the Naruko path, which involved summoning a mystical figure capable of healing and truth-seeking. With this, Naruko could help others recover or gently guide them toward honesty. Next came the Asura path, which allowed Naruko to manifest mechanical limbs. Though it was unusual at first, she found it interesting. In time, she learned to form extra arms that could transform into shields or tools, useful additions to her training. Then, just over 6 months into her training, her mentor alerted her to something unexpected: 6 chakra signatures approaching the island. Naruko was immediately alert. Very few dared to come near due to the whirlpools, so it was a surprise. She left her training space and moved toward the shore. As the boat neared, she was stunned to sense a familiar chakra. Kurenai-san? What is she doing here? She wondered, watching from the water's edge. 2 hours later, Naruko saw Kurenai leap from the boat and dash across the water, careful not to get caught in the whirlpools. Using a specialized technique, Naruko neutralized one of the whirlpools temporarily, allowing Kurenai to cross safely. When she arrived, Kurenai smiled with relief. "Thank you, Naruko. I know this is unexpected, but I needed to see for myself if you were all right." "You came all this way just for that?" Naruko asked, surprised. Few had ever shown such care. Kurenai nodded. "And to see if you'd like some help. I know I should have reached out earlier, but I didn't know how. I wasn't sure if you'd want company." Naruko paused before replying, "It's okay. You can stay." The boat is already gone anyway, and I wouldn't want you to be stranded." With that, Naruko led her into the vault-like home she had been living in, an ancient place filled with scrolls and knowledge. Kurenai was amazed at the sheer volume of information there and touched that Naruko trusted her enough to show it. Naruko showed her the rooms, where food was kept, and where they could rest. Kurenai expressed her wish to stay for 4 months, if Naruko would allow it. "I just didn't want to let you down again," she admitted quietly. "Your mother helped me so much, and I want to honor that." Moved by her sincerity, Naruko stepped forward and gave her a small hug, resting her head gently against Kurenai's side. Caught off guard but deeply touched, Kurenai returned the hug. "It's okay, Kurenai-san. I don't really know how friendships work. But I want to try." Kurenai nodded with a soft smile. "Then let's both learn. Let's build trust together." And so, with time, patience, and mutual respect, Naruko and Kurenai began building a true friendship, one formed not by obligation, but by choice. 4 months passed quickly for both Naruko and Kurenai, who had grown far closer than either of them had expected in such a short time. Every day, Naruko practiced her calligraphy diligently, growing more skilled with each passing moment. She took to it with natural ease, and within just 2 weeks, she was able to perform it flawlessly, even with her eyes closed. It was a personal goal she had set, and achieving it brought her great satisfaction. Kurenai supported Naruko throughout her training. As a specialist in genjutsu, Kurenai began instructing her in its foundational techniques. Naruko was delighted by the lessons, and Kurenai quickly realized something extraordinary: Naruko had remarkable chakra control. This surprised Kurenai, who remembered being told by Naruko's mother that Uzumaki clan members typically had such vast chakra reserves that refining control over it took considerably longer than for others. As their training continued, they shared more of their personal lives with each other. Naruko learned that Kurenai's parents, Yuhi Hiromi and Yuhi Kenzu, had passed away when Kurenai had just become a Junon at the age of 7. Kurenai also shared that she was currently 21 and that her birthday fell on June 11th. When Naruko learned this, she took it upon herself to find meaningful scrolls on genjutsu from her clan's library to give Kurenai as a birthday gift. Kurenai was touched and initially hesitant to accept the rare scrolls, knowing their value. But Naruko, with heartfelt sincerity, insisted she wanted her friend to have them and to learn from them. Among the scrolls were 2A ranked, 3B ranked, and 1C ranked genjutsu techniques. Kurenai was overwhelmed by Naruko's generosity and hugged her in gratitude. Naruko, though shy at first, began to appreciate and return such gestures of warmth. Naruko, soon to turn 9, realized Kurenai was only about 12 years older than her, and Kurenai already knew this, having learned much about Naruko from her mother. Naruko also discovered that Kurenai had spent just 2 years in the academy before becoming a chunin at 13. Despite her skills, she hadn't taken the jonin exams yet, feeling she still had more to master, especially in genjutsu, an art known for its complexity. Kurenai took pride in her identity as an aspiring genjutsu mistress. She believed strongly in the potential of women shinobi and was determined to prove herself. As Naruko learned more about Kurenai, she began to admire her greatly and felt increasingly comfortable sharing her thoughts and feelings. Kurenai, in turn, saw Naruko not only as remarkably talented but also as kind, fast, and incredibly intelligent. She called Naruko a genius, one like the world had rarely seen. Naruko, embarrassed by the compliment, could only blush. In addition to genjutsu, Naruko began learning fuinjutsu, the art of sealing, which she quickly fell in love with. Kurenai noticed how quickly she progressed and believed that with time, Naruko would master both arts. Unknown to her, Naruko's unique dojutsu and special traits allowed her to learn at an extraordinary rate. As their bond grew stronger, Naruko eventually shared a personal secret, something about her chakra. One day after training, she approached Kurenai. "Kurenai-chan, there's something I want to show you. I trust you, and I'd like to share this with you," she said sincerely. Curious and supportive, Kurenai agreed. Naruko then channeled chakra to her hand in a special way. Though impressive on its own, what truly surprised Kurenai was the visual and sensory experience. Naruko's chakra shimmered with a unique blend of deep red and dark hues, unlike anything she had ever seen. Even more astonishing, she could feel the chakra without being touched. Naruko explained that she possessed an immense amount of chakra, far denser than usual. Kurenai was reminded of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, who had famously vast chakra reserves. To think Naruko's chakra might be even more potent was astounding. Kurenai, touched by Naruko's trust, promised to keep everything a secret. Eventually, the time came for Kurenai to return to Konoha, her leave nearing its end. She expressed how much she had enjoyed the time spent with Naruko and hoped she would consider coming back with her. Kurenai had mentioned several people in Konoha who cared deeply for Naruko and missed her, believing she had been lost. Among them were Mitarashi Anko Uzuki Yugao, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, and a legendary shinobi named Jiraiya. But the one who surprised Naruko most was Hatake Kakashi, who had been deeply saddened by her disappearance. Naruko decided it was time to return to Konoha. She explained to Kurenai that she would leave her vault behind, protected as always, and would begin rebuilding the village nearby as a personal project. Though she wanted to become a Konoha shinobi again, she also wanted to preserve her heritage. Kurenai respected her decision and offered to help whenever needed. With that, they left the vault behind. Naruko carried no belongings. She looked forward to returning to the home her parents had left for her. When they reached the shore, Naruko told Kurenai to climb on her back. Kurenai blushed in surprise but listened as Naruko explained she would run across the water since they had no boat. Though initially embarrassed, Kurenai agreed. Naruko, now taller and stronger than when they first met, ran swiftly across the water, carefully carrying her friend. They traveled for days, Naruko pausing only when necessary, and Kurenai, despite the unusual position, eventually fell asleep on her back. When they reached land, Naruko continued without waking her, wanting her to rest as much as possible. Kurenai eventually woke up among the trees and asked why Naruko hadn't told her they had reached land. "I didn't want to disturb you. I figured the journey was probably tiring, so I thought I'd get us to Konoha as quickly as I could," Naruko replied, smiling gently. Kurenai was touched by her thoughtfulness. Though Naruko had eaten little and rested even less, she never complained, always focused on helping others. Once they neared Konoha's gates, Naruko chose not to enter directly. Instead, she asked Kurenai to meet her later in the Forest of Death, knowing her sudden return might raise questions. Kurenai agreed and returned to the village, signing in at the gates before heading to the Hokage's office. She gave a vague report, claiming she had taken time off in tea country to rest and train. Hiruzen, understanding and kind, didn't even read the report. He simply welcomed her back with a grandfatherly smile. Later at home, Kurenai was greeted by Anko and Yugao, her closest friends, who were eager to hear about her surprise. Kurenai promised to reveal it soon and asked them to gather in the Hokage's office later, along with Hatake Kakashi. Anko, ever the playful one, teased Kakashi upon fetching him from his home, while Yugao delivered the message to the Hokage. As the hour approached, all of them began to wonder what kind of surprise Kurenai had planned, none of them yet knowing that someone very special was about to return home. Kurenai arrived at the gates of the Forest of Death only 10 minutes later, heading directly inside with quiet determination. She hoped she wouldn't have to search the entire forest, as that would take considerable time. Fortunately for her, just as she entered, a familiar voice called out from nearby. "Looking for me, Kurenai-chan?" came the voice of Naruko, who was sitting casually on a tree branch close to where Kurenai stood. Glancing over, the red-eyed Kunoichi smiled. Having spent 4 months living together, Kurenai had come to understand how exceptionally skilled Naruko was at remaining unseen. "I didn't expect to find you so close to the entrance, Naruko-chan. It seems like you were waiting for me," Kurenai responded warmly, now standing across from Naruko on another branch. "Well, I did promise we'd meet again here, didn't I?" Naruko said with a playful tone. Kurenai chuckled at her lightheartedness. "You certainly did, Naruko-chan. Are you ready to meet everyone?" This meeting had been planned for more than a week, ever since Naruko learned about the small group of people who truly cared for her. With a nod, Naruko adjusted her black cloak's hood over her head and began following Kurenai toward the Hokage Tower. She wasn't ready to show herself to the public just yet, only Kurenai had earned her full trust. They took their time traveling, avoiding busy areas to help Naruko stay out of sight. When they finally reached the Hokage Tower nearly an hour later, Naruko asked to wait outside until she could be sure the only people present were those Kurenai had spoken of. Her heightened senses detected more than the agreed number inside, prompting her caution. Kurenai understood and quickly entered. The door was already open, and she was relieved to see everyone she had invited had arrived. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Hokage-sama," Kurenai began with a respectful bow. "I realize this is unexpected, especially with my recent return, but I have someone with me whom you'll all want to see. Her only request is that the room be cleared of any hidden personnel." The Hokage, though surprised, gave a subtle nod and signaled for the Anbu guards to withdraw. Once they had vacated the room, and Naruko sensed it was safe, she vanished from outside and reappeared next to Kurenai within the Hokage's office. Her sudden appearance startled the others, who had assumed the guest would enter normally. Naruko remained hooded, and though her face was hidden, her presence drew curiosity and concern. "This isn't what I expected," Naruko said softly. "Kurenai-chan, you've always been kind to me. But I can sense the unease in the room. It feels like they're unsure of me, and that makes me nervous." Kurenai frowned, sensing Naruko's discomfort and the emotions swirling around them. Before she could speak, the Hokage addressed the young girl. "What do you mean by sensing emotions? And may we ask you to show your face?" Naruko hesitated, unsure if she could trust everyone in the room. "It's just something I can do. I came here to be seen, but I still feel uncertain. The door is still open. If I may close it first, I'll remove my hood." The Hokage gave a brief nod to Kakashi, who quietly closed the door and returned to his place. Slowly, Naruko reached up, pausing for a moment as silent tears rolled down her cheeks. Kurenai noticed and instinctively reached toward her, but held back to respect her space. "You were like a grandfather to me once. But now I don't even know if I can look you in the eyes," Naruko said softly. "I know not everything was your fault, but you were the Hokage. I didn't want special treatment. I just wanted to be seen as a person, not something different." With that, she lowered her hood, revealing long, spiky red hair and teary eyes. The room fell silent. The Hokage immediately recognized her, while others took a moment, until the 3 whisker marks on each cheek gave it away. Anko and Yugao were overcome with emotion, and even Kakashi's visible eye began to water. "And Naruko?" Kakashi whispered in disbelief. Naruko turned to him and gave a gentle smile. "I heard what you did when that woman threw me out of the orphanage, Kakashi-san." "Thank you," she said with gratitude, tears still in her eyes. Kakashi stepped forward and embraced her gently. Naruko leaned into the hug, touched by the kindness. When they separated, Kakashi asked, "How did you survive all this time? Where have you been?" Naruko explained that she had taken refuge in the Forest of Death, learning to live off the land and teaching herself how to survive. The others were heartbroken to hear it, while their respect for her resilience grew. Hiruzen spoke with quiet remorse. "An apology may come far too late, Naruko-chan, but please know I regret not seeing the truth sooner. I am truly sorry." Anko and Yugao embraced her as well, though Yugao released her quickly to make sure she wasn't overwhelming her. Anko held on a little longer, relieved and emotional. Then, realization struck Anko. "Kurenai. We saw her together in the forest months ago. You knew, why didn't you tell me?" Kurenai glanced at Naruko, who gave her a small nod. "I returned afterward and found her again. When she told me who she was, I knew I couldn't ignore it. I asked if I could be her friend, and she said yes. I didn't reveal anything sooner because it wasn't my secret to share," Kurenai explained gently. Naruko added, "I only felt safe around her. That's why I stayed hidden until now." Hiruzen, now more understanding, turned to Naruko. "If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. A home, help with your training, anything at all." Naruko took a deep breath before replying, "I appreciate that, Hokage-sama. I don't think I'm ready to live alone in an apartment. I still worry. But if it's possible, may I join the Shinobi Academy?" This request surprised many in the room. "The Academy class has already been active for nearly 2 years, Hiruzen replied. "However, you've demonstrated strength, intelligence, and perseverance well beyond your age. I believe you can catch up." "I've been living in the forest since I was 5, Naruko said quietly. Hiruzen quickly filled out a registration form and handed it to her. She signed it and returned it, officially beginning her path to becoming a shinobi. Before the Hokage could speak about her housing situation, Kurenai stepped forward. "Hokage-sama, with your permission, I'd like to offer Naruko-chan a home with me, for as long as she needs or wants." Naruko's eyes widened. "You really mean that, Kurenai-chan?" Kurenai smiled gently. "Yes. I'd be happy to have you live with me." Naruko nodded with a warm smile, accepting the offer. After that, the atmosphere in the room became lighter. Anko and Yugao asked her how she'd managed to live in such a place alone, and she explained how it was difficult at first but she eventually adapted. Kakashi and Yugao both offered to train her, Kakashi in ninjutsu and Yugao in kenjutsu. Naruko, though overwhelmed at first, agreed to both, encouraged by their kindness. Throughout it all, something ancient and powerful quietly observed through her eyes, thinking to itself, when your truth is revealed, that is when your true friends will show themselves. The group, including Kakashi, Yugao, and Anko, all offered their help, whether it was clothes, food, or anything Naruko might need. Kurenai expressed her gratitude, and the Hokage added that Naruko would also receive a stipend from her late mother's account, something that had been long overlooked. Eventually, everyone left the office, leaving the Hokage with a reflective smile and a heart full of mixed emotions. Kakashi went out to gather some groceries for Naruko, hoping to build a bond. Anko and Yugao did the same. Meanwhile, Kurenai and Naruko returned to her apartment. Once inside, Naruko stood quietly in the living room, unsure of what to do. Kurenai approached her warmly. "You can relax, Naruko-chan. You're home now. This is a safe place." Naruko nodded with a grateful smile, feeling a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. That evening, Kakashi, Anko, and Yugao visited with food and spent time with Naruko. While trust would take time, the warmth she felt from them was real. And for the first time in a long time, Naruko didn't feel alone. Fortunately, the red-haired individual gave them a chance, trusting that if they were friends of Kurenai, then they must be kind-hearted people. That day marked the beginning of a new friendship for everyone. Even the usually reserved Onbu captain asked if he and Naruko could become friends. Naruko happily agreed, not just with him, but also with the two other women. It felt wonderful to her. Suddenly, more and more people wanted to be her friend, and the warmth of that feeling filled her with joy. Though Naruko had never truly been alone, thanks to the presence of the Jubi, it was a comforting experience to meet people she hoped she could trust and rely on in the future. Meanwhile, Hiruzen sat at his desk, sorting through paperwork. He couldn't shake the feeling that the documents in front of him were just the beginning, especially with how lively and spirited Naruko was, so much like her mother. He looked down at the growing stack and sighed, half dreading, half smiling at what was to come. They once called her a burden to the village? "I believe she's a gift," the elderly Hokage mused quietly. "This old man will do everything he can to support you, Naruko. I won't make the same mistakes again," he promised himself, as he brought his workday to a close. That evening, Kakashi, Anko, and Yugao took their leave before it got too late, each one promising to visit Naruko again soon. Their duties remained important, but now, they were committed to using their free time to build a true friendship with her. They had no intention of letting her down. At Kurenai's home, there was only one bed, but Naruko assured her it was perfectly fine. The couch was far more comfortable than sleeping outdoors, something she had endured for almost 4 years. With peace in their hearts, Naruko and her new friends ended the day with genuine smiles, grateful for the second chance they had all been given, just like Kurenai. "I won't let you down again, Naruko," each of them thought before drifting off to sleep, unaware of what the future might hold, but hopeful nonetheless. Dear YouTube community, that concludes today's content. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. Thank you for your support. Best regards. 6 Path Weeb.